Hey everyone, it's Greg Rose here. We're here at TPI's 3D Bay at the Performance Institute, and I thought it'd be kind of neat today to go look at somebody who's just kind of killing it on the LPGA, Brooke Henderson, who's 5'4" and 5th in driving distance. And everybody always asks us, how do you hit the ball farther? Well, here's proof that it's not always just size that matters. So let's talk about some of the things that Brooke does that has just made her one of the longest hitters on the LPGA. So I'm going to play her swing here, and this is just taken from the Golf Channel in slow motion. And you can see one of the things that stands out to me right away is how athletic she looks. And one of the things I think is really key, especially for the ladies, is lower body power. And I want you to watch her legs. I'm just going to let it play one time. I want you to see how far she takes the club back. I want you to see how she reroutes that or drops the club in. But I want to see how powerful and athletic her golf swing looks like. You can always spot an athlete. That's what I always say. You can tell a golfer versus an athlete. I like the golfers who are athletes first. And basically, the women have the incredible ability to create almost the equal amount of power as guys do in their lower body. See, one of the things that most people don't realize is genetics, right? Genetics is basically shows us that muscle fibers, women have about 70 to 80% the number of muscle fibers in the legs that men do. That's pretty close. That's why women sprinters can sprint almost just as fast as guy sprinters. In the upper body, women, it's about 40 to 50% of the muscle fibers that men do. That's why men are so much stronger in the upper body. But for my ladies out there, you want to maximize that leg power. That is so critically important to creating this power. And that's why in the gym we do so much work on the legs. One of the things I want you to see is how much knee bend she has. Okay, that's really, really important to understand what she's doing there. She is doing something that the biggest hitters in the world do, is she is using ground force reaction to create this incredible power. And she's doing it by doing a squat. So in other words, if you were to watch her in slow motion, you'll notice that as she gets to the top of the backswing, as she transitions, you're going to see a downward move. That little squat move is going to set her up to be able to create this incredible ground force reaction. It also helps raise the handle, which basically increases the attack angle on the driver, which helps us optimize the physics of the launch of the ball. But that ground force reaction sets up this entire chain reaction that she does so well. So in other words, in my mind, when I'm looking at power, and we talk a lot about this in our level 2 power class, and we talk about this in our level 2 golf classes, we're always checking what's called the biomechanics of muscular loading. I want to make sure that you load the areas in your body that are going to create power. And there are 3 main areas you want to load for power. And Brooke does these perfectly, and I want to go through each one of them one at a time. The first one is this, is you want to be able to load the core. So the link between your lower body and your upper body. As the downswing starts, I'm going to create this stretch of these muscles, my oblique abdominals. That little pre-stretch helps load the muscles so that I can create this incredible power. So the first load is going to be in the core. Now after the core loads, the next thing you want to do is you want to fire your trunk, but at the same time you fire your trunk, you're now going to load the shoulder joint. So it's almost going to look like the arm stays behind as the shoulders start to rotate, creates this incredible torque or stretch, pre-stretch of the muscles of the shoulder, which again is the second big power source. And then thirdly, if you can, you're going to try and fire your arms, but as you fire your arms, the club's going to stay back. And it creates this lag that everybody talk about, and it helps load the wrist joint, so I can create power in the wrist. A lot of times if we look at players, you'll see that they're great at loading one of these. Players will load the core, but they don't really load the shoulder or the wrist. Or they do a lot of the wrist, but they don't do a lot of the core. I think this is what makes Brooke so special. I think she loads all 3 of them. Let's take a look at this. So first of all, I'm going to back up just a little bit here. And we're going to start this on the downswing. And I can back up just a little bit farther. I'll get this out of the way. Right here, you can see her lower body is rotating, and it's almost like her upper body is still completely rotated, almost over 100 degrees. So her hips have started to rotate forward, which is pre-stretches those oblique abdominals, loads that core segment. Now, as I keep going a little bit farther, right here you can see the arm is back and the shoulders are starting to rotate. So she gets this incredible load in the lead shoulder. But notice she's got this huge loop of the club where the club is really long, like Bubba Watson, Sergio Garcia, kind of holds and loads across her shoulder. So as her arm is starting to rotate, the club is still behind her, and that loads the wrist joint, right? So we've got basically all 3 joints loaded here. I've got the core loaded and unwinding. I've got the shoulder as loaded and unwinding, and I still have the wrist loaded, which is about to unwind right into impact. When you maximize all 3 of those joints, create that muscular loading and create that explosive power, add in that vertical thrust, put it on an athletic frame like she has, it wouldn't surprise me if she became #1 in driving distance. To me, those are some of the secrets to Brooke's golf swing and creating power. And I mentioned the key here is taking an athlete first. One of the things that we know about Brooke is that she actually, from Canada, I think it's a law in Canada, that when you're young, you got to play hockey. And she was a big hockey player when she was young. Let's take a little look at some footage of Brooke back in her hockey days. And you can see here she was a goalie. Now, the interesting thing about goalie is we know most goalkeepers, great goalkeepers, have incredible hip range of motion. To be able to drop their legs down, you need that incredible hip range of motion, which is going to help her tremendously in golf. Secondly, I think it's important is that because the goalkeeper is squatting down and up, think about how many squats she's done. And we talked about building that lower body strength foundation. And like we said, that's that ground force reaction that helps create that explosive power. I couldn't think of a better way to develop that than on skates, on ice, being a goalkeeper, going up and down. Think about the thousands of squats she's done. You take all that incredible hockey strength and development and power, you add that into the golf swing, and now you've got one of the longest hitters on the LPGA.